So at this point, I actually want to take a look at a tool called Nikto. Now, Nikto has been around for quite a while. It's a very early web application testing utility, and I've got it installed here. We're just going to run Nikto, and I didn't specify a host mostly because I wanted to generate this help here, and you can see all of the parameters and configuration settings that we can use. And what I really want to do is I'm going to run Nikto here, and we're going to just say, let me see, we're going to say host is 172.30.42.55, and port is going to be 80, and we're not going to use SSL, although I could use SSL here. And let me see, we're going to do evasion, so we're going to use techniques that may evade IDS detection, and we're going to do a mutate so we can guess additional file names, and we're just going to use all of the plugins here. So I could specify which plugins. I'm just going to use all of the ones that Nikto has available to us, and now I'm just going to run that. And once Nikto is running, it's going to be generating a lot of requests to the web server, and we'll eventually get some output here based on what it finds at this particular web server on this port. And it's going to test all of the connections that it can find based on the page that it has found. So Nikto is going to run. It's going to generate a report with all of the vulnerabilities that it may have found, and it's going to look through the pages for all of those vulnerabilities. So again, you can see there's a lot of different configuration parameters. I could actually specify a format to save the report file into. I could enable the display of outputs. I could actually check for database support as well as some other things for syntax errors. I've got the ability to take a look at the plugins. If I didn't want to run all of them, I could just list the plugins that are there, and I could also disable the cache, which would prevent URIs from caching there. I've got the ability to make sure I prepend the route to all requests. So rather than just making a request to directory, for example, I could ensure that the request is /directory. I could do some scan tuning, and Nikto runs on a set of plugins and a number of configuration settings. You could actually update the database with all of the plugins that are available. So right here we've got the output from the tests that we ran, and looks like we've got a Ubuntu server running Apache 2.2.22, did find CGI bin with directory indexing turned on, and we found the HTTP methods. We did find PHP that was installed, and a test script which runs PHP info, which is generally not such a good thing. And there are a number of other possibilities here as well, including some directories that Nikto thinks may be worth taking a look at and seeing whether we could do something interesting with them. So also it found WordPress and just let us know that it did find WordPress. So Nikto it's not a proxy like some other test tools that you may run into. It's also not graphical, so there's no pretty GUI to go with Nikto. It's just a command line utility, and you've got a lot of configuration settings that you can do tweaking on in order to get different output and run some different tests against the web server that you want to take a look at. And again, this is a starting point for giving you some data that you may be able to use in terms of the testing that you're going to be doing manually, and seeing what you may have for starting points that Nikto is providing to you. And again, we've got things like PHP, and we've got Apache 2.2.22. That may be a starting point for us to be looking for vulnerabilities or exploits against those particular packages.